My wife proposed a 2-week separation to test our marriage. By day 3 she posted with another man, so I ended the game before she could blink. I'm a 32-year-old male and I met Ella, a 30-year-old female, when I was 27. We've been married for 3 years, together for 5 years total. I'm a certified welder, pulling down $95,000 working industrial construction projects. She's a receptionist at some mid-size firm downtown, making about half that. The house we live in is mine. I bought it 2 years before we got married with money from my inheritance and kept it titled solely in my name. We split household expenses roughly 70-30 since I make about double her salary. She contributed to groceries, utilities, and home improvements, but the mortgage was always mine. The first 2 years of marriage were solid, normal stuff, figuring out whose turn it was to do dishes, arguing about the thermostat, planning vacations we couldn't quite afford yet. She wanted to go to Europe. I wanted to pay down the mortgage faster. Standard newlywed adjustment period. The house is a 1950s ranch I renovated myself. I pulled permits, did most of the electrical and plumbing work on weekends, added a workshop in the garage, refinished the hardwood floors, and updated the kitchen with granite countertops and stainless appliances. I put about $40,000 and 2 years of sweat equity into it. The current value is around $280,000 in a neighborhood that's been gentrifying fast. Things started shifting about 8 months ago when Ella reconnected with her college friend Ashley. Ashley had moved back to town after a messy divorce, no kids, collecting $2,500 a month in alimony from some tech guy who apparently cheated. She was living in a trendy downtown loft, hitting bars every weekend, posting Instagram stories about living your best life and not settling for less. My best friend Stefan immediately nicknamed her the life coach after meeting her once at a barbecue. Stefan has been my wingman since college, a software developer, brutally honest, with zero patience for drama and a dark sense of humor. He took one look at Ashley's designer handbag and fake eyelashes and called it immediately. Ashley was 28, bleached blonde, one of those women who thinks having an opinion about everything makes her interesting. She always smiled a little too long at me, laughed too hard at my jokes. I chalked it up to extrovert energy back then. I should have known better. She'd roll up to our house in her leased BMW, always dressed like she was going to a nightclub, always with some new piece of relationship advice that sounded like it came from a daytime talk show. The woman was a walking red flag factory, divorced after 18 months of marriage, no job skills beyond spending someone else's money, and the kind of toxic positivity that made normal people want to jump off bridges. But she had Ella's ear. Suddenly, Ella started coming home with new ideas about relationships, how we were too comfortable, how marriage shouldn't feel like roommates, how successful couples challenge each other and keep the spark alive. All recycled garbage from whatever relationship podcast Ashley had discovered that week. The fight started small. Why didn't I plan more spontaneous dates? Why was I always working late? Why didn't I get jealous when other guys talked to her at parties? Classic manufactured drama, but I didn't recognize it yet. I was working on a major commercial project, a 12-story office building downtown that was 3 months behind schedule and $200,000 over budget. The kind of job that makes or breaks careers in my field. I was putting in 60-hour weeks, sometimes working Saturdays, trying to keep the project from becoming a complete disaster. But according to Ashley's relationship philosophy, my commitment to keeping us financially stable was actually proof that I didn't care about our marriage. You can't make this stuff up. By December, we were fighting twice a week, always the same pattern. She'd pick something minor, escalate it into a character assassination, then act confused when I didn't engage with the hysteria. I'd try to problem solve. She'd accuse me of being emotionally unavailable. The Christmas fight was about the tree. I'd worked a 12-hour day dealing with structural engineers and city inspectors, came home exhausted, and she was upset that I didn't seem excited enough about the tree she'd bought. Not that I didn't like it, but that I didn't seem excited enough about it. Stefan summed it up perfectly. She's manufacturing problems because her divorced friend told her marriage should feel like a reality TV show. I started working later, partially because of the project deadline, mostly because home felt like walking through a minefield. She took that as proof I didn't care about our marriage. Classic catch-22. What I didn't realize was that Ashley wasn't just poisoning my wife's head with relationship advice. She was actively encouraging her to explore other options. The breaking point came on a Thursday in January. I got home around 7 p.m., not even that late, and found Ella sitting at our kitchen table, looking like she'd been rehearsing something all day. She'd already had dinner without me, which was new. We used to wait for each other, even if it meant eating at 8 or 9 p.m. "We need to talk," she said. I grabbed some leftover Chinese food from the fridge and sat down. The sweet and sour pork was cold, but I was hungry enough not to care. "I've been thinking about us, about where we're headed. I think we should take a break," she said. I stopped eating A break, not permanent, just a week or two to see how we feel apart. To remember why we fell in love. I knew exactly where this was coming from. Ashley had been feeding her this line for months. How her ex-husband never appreciated her until she left. How absence makes the heart grow fonder. The thing is, I'd heard this exact conversation before. My buddy Jake went through the same thing 2 years ago. His wife wanted a break to find herself. She found herself all right, in bed with her yoga instructor. Cost him half his $401k and $1,800 a month in child support. You want to separate? I asked. I want us to pretend we're not married for a little while. See if we miss each other. See if you'll actually fight for us. And there it was. The real agenda. This wasn't about taking space. It was about making me dance for her attention, making me prove my love through panic and desperation. I looked at my wife of 3 years, sitting there with her rehearsed speech and her manipulation tactics from her train wreck friend, and something inside me just went cold. Instead of arguing or begging, I just shrugged. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay? If that's what you want. The disappointment on her face was immediate. She'd expected me to argue, to beg, to make some grand gesture. Instead, I just nodded and went back to eating my leftover Chinese food like she'd asked me to pick up milk on the way home. That's when I knew our marriage was probably over, not because of the break request, but because she was disappointed I didn't fight her on it. She wanted drama more than she wanted to fix anything. I texted Stefan immediately after she went to bed. Ella wants to take a marriage break. His response came back in 30 seconds, LOL. Let me guess, the life coach's idea? What's your move? Going to let her have her break, see what happens. Smart. Nothing says I love you like manufactured relationship tests. Turned out Stefan was optimistic about the timeline. We established the rules that night. 2 weeks of acting like we weren't married. She'd stay with Ashley, no contact except for house stuff or emergencies. We'd reassess after 14 days. She packed 2 suitcases the next morning, mostly her work clothes and enough casual stuff for 2 weeks. I helped her load them into her Honda Civic and watched her drive away. The house felt different immediately, quieter, but not in a bad way. I could watch ESPN without commentary about toxic masculinity. I could eat cereal for dinner without analyzing the deeper meaning of my nutritional choices. For the first time in months, I actually relaxed in my own living room. That first night, I ordered a large pizza, cracked open a Coke, and watched the entire Predator trilogy without anyone explaining why action movies perpetuate harmful stereotypes. It was glorious. Stefan came over that first weekend with takeout from this Thai place we'd been going to since college. He brought his laptop, and we spent 3 hours setting up a fantasy football league for next season, something I hadn't had time to think about in months. So, how's the single life treating you? He asked. Pretty good, actually. Watched 3 hours of football yesterday without anyone explaining why sports are a symptom of male emotional repression. Stefan nearly choked on his pad thai. She actually said that? Among other things. Apparently, my interest in the Cowboys' playoff run was preventing me from processing my feelings in a healthy way. That weekend, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went through our finances with a fine-tooth comb, joint checking account, savings, both our credit cards, her student loans I'd been helping pay off. I started documenting every shared asset and debt. We had about $35,000 in joint savings, another $15,000 in a joint checking account. Her student loan balance was still $28,000 for a marketing degree that got her a $45,000 job answering phones and scheduling appointments. I'd been throwing an extra $400 a month at it for the past 2 years, trying to get it paid off faster. I also documented the house improvements we'd made together. She'd contributed about $8,000 toward materials and appliances over 3 years, mostly for the kitchen renovation. I'd done all the labor myself, plus put in another $32,000 of my own money. Monday morning, I called Dave, not to file anything yet, just to understand my options. Dave walked me through Texas divorce law, asset division, and what I could expect if things went south. The good news was that the house would stay mine since it was separate property acquired before marriage. The improvements were trickier, but since I'd done all the work and contributed most of the money, I'd likely keep most of the value. By the end of week 1, I'd moved half our joint savings into a separate account, completely legal since it was marital property and I had equal access. I changed my direct deposit to go into my individual checking account instead of the joint one. She texted me exactly once that first week. Hope you're thinking about us. I showed Stefan the text. What do you think that means? It means the life coach told her you'd be a sobbing mess by now, begging her to come home. Instead, you're probably the most relaxed you've been in months. Must be confusing for her. By the 10th day, Ashley reached out. She'd apparently decided 2 weeks was more than enough time to make her move. Tuesday afternoon, a text from a number I didn't have saved. Hey, how are you holding up? We'd never texted one-on-one before. I kept it short but friendly, doing okay. This whole thing is weird. I know, right? Ella's been so stressed, maybe we could grab coffee and talk about it? Instead of shutting it down immediately, I decided to play along. Yeah, maybe that would help. We met Thursday evening at a Starbucks near her apartment complex. She showed up dressed like she was going to a club. Tight black dress, full makeup, enough perfume to choke a horse for coffee with her friend's husband during a marriage crisis. The dress was cut low enough that I could see everything when she leaned forward to grab her latte, which she did frequently throughout our conversation. Real subtle. I feel terrible about this whole situation, she said, making sure to lean forward across the small table. You guys were so good together. Sure we were, I thought. That's why she spent 8 months telling my wife we were boring. Were we, though? All the fighting lately. That's just her being confused. She doesn't know what she wants. Ashley reached across and touched my hand. But I can see how much this is hurting you. Her nails were done in some dark red color that probably cost $50 at the salon. The kind of maintenance that requires weekly appointments and screams high maintenance. I let her keep contact for a few seconds before pulling back. It's been rough. You know, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. Day or night. The conversation continued for an hour. She talked about how I deserved better, how Ella didn't appreciate what she had, how if she were married to someone like me, things would be different. When we left, she hugged me longer than necessary. This was really nice. We should do it again soon. I drove home and immediately called Stefan. Dude, you're not going to believe this. Let me guess, the life coach is already shopping for wedding dresses? She basically threw herself at me, dress cut down to her navel, touching my hands, talking about how I deserve better. The woman has the patience of a hungry shark. Of course she does. She probably had this plan before she even suggested the break to Ella. It's like a 3-step program for home wrecking. What do you think? Play dumb. Let her think she's being subtle while you document everything. This is going to get interesting. Over the next few days, Ashley ramped up the contact. Daily texts asking how I was doing, suggesting we meet again, sending photos with captions like thinking of you during this difficult time. The photos were obviously calculated. Her at the gym in yoga pants, her at some restaurant with the caption eating alone again, her by the pool at her apartment complex in a bikini. Each one designed to remind me what was available if I played my cards right. Stefan was having a field day with her messages. Look at this one, I hope you know how special you are. What is she, a greeting card? Next, she'll be sending you inspirational quotes about following your heart. I responded just enough to keep her interested but not enough to cross any lines, making myself seem vulnerable and receptive to her attention. That's when she made her move. Friday evening text, I have something to tell you, but I don't know if I should. What is it? Can we meet? This isn't something for text. We met at the same place. She looked nervous, kept checking her phone like she was expecting someone to call. I feel terrible about this, but I think you deserve to know. She took a deep breath, like she was about to deliver devastating news. Ella's been seeing someone. I let the appropriate level of shock show on my face. What? His name is Scott? She met him at some work conference last month. I've been watching them together and it's not innocent. Scott, according to Ashley, was a marketing director from Austin. Mid-30s, divorced, drives a BMW, works for some tech company. The kind of guy who probably has a LinkedIn photo of himself pointing at a whiteboard. You're sure? I saw them at dinner last night, very cozy. And she's been lying about where she goes when she leaves my apartment. Ashley reached across and took my hand. I'm so sorry. I know this hurts, but you needed to know. The message was clear. I had 2 options. Fight for a cheating wife or upgrade to her loyal friend who'd never betray me like this. What a coincidence. I played the devastated husband perfectly. I can't believe she'd do this. You don't deserve this. You deserve someone who values you. I went home that night and did something I should have done weeks ago. I checked our shared devices and accounts. Ella had left her iPad at home when she moved out, still logged into her iCloud account, password saved from when I'd helped her set it up months ago. Her text messages synced automatically to all her devices. What I found was 3 weeks of conversations with Scott, starting innocent enough, work industry gossip, complaints about a client who couldn't make up his mind about branding colors. But by the 2nd week it had turned personal, complaints about our marriage, how she felt unappreciated, how talking to him reminded her what it felt like to be desired. The recent messages were explicit, plans to meet, discussions about their connection, photos I definitely didn't want to see. The timestamps showed she'd been texting him during our break, including right after she'd sent me that message about thinking about us. I screenshot everything and backed it up to my personal cloud storage. 47 messages over 3 weeks, including a dozen photos and several voice messages I didn't have the stomach to listen to. Then I checked our joint credit card statements online. 3 expensive dinners at restaurants across town in the past week. Places I'd never heard of with names like Meridian and the Capitol Grill. A hotel charge from 2 nights ago at the Omni downtown, $280 for one night, all on dates when she told Ashley she was going to Target or meeting work friends. The hotel charge was the smoking gun. She'd used our joint visa to pay for a room where she was hooking up with another guy while asking me to wait for her like some kind of backup plan. I called Stefan. I found it. She's been hooking up with some guy from Austin. No way. Credit card receipts, hotel charges, 3 weeks of text messages planning their hookups. It's all here. Damn. So she convinced your wife to take a break so she could cheat, then came running to you with the information like some loyal friend. That's some next-level manipulation right there. What do you think her endgame is? She's betting you'll be so grateful for her loyalty and so hurt by Ella's betrayal that you'll fall right into her arms. Classic rebound strategy. She destroys your marriage, then offers herself as the upgrade. Well, she's about to find out how that works out for her. I called Dave first thing Monday morning. I have evidence of adultery, text messages, hotel charges, restaurant receipts. Good. Bring everything to my office. We'll prepare the papers. Dave reviewed the evidence for an hour, reading through the text messages with the detached professionalism of someone who'd seen this story 1,000 times before. The text messages are damning, the financial records support the timeline, and everything was legally obtained. With this evidence, you're looking at keeping the house as separate property, 60 to 65% of joint assets, and no spousal support obligation, he said. She forfeited her rights when she committed adultery. How long to prepare everything? Give me 3 days. I want this airtight. Those 3 days were probably the strangest of my life. I went to work like nothing was happening, managing the construction project that was finally back on schedule and under budget. Came home to my quiet house, ordered takeout, watched TV without anyone critiquing my entertainment choices. Meanwhile, I kept up the devastated husband act with Ashley, letting her comfort me about the terrible news she'd delivered, listening to her talk about what a terrible friend Ella had been to both of us. I can't believe she would do this to you, Ashley said during another coffee meeting. After everything you've done for her. Some people just don't appreciate what they have. Exactly, I said, playing my part. But maybe this is happening for a reason. Maybe you needed to see who she really was. She reached across the table and took my hand. And maybe I needed to see who you really are too. Stefan nearly choked when I told him about that conversation later. She actually said that with a straight face. Maybe I needed to see who you really are. What is this, a romantic comedy? Next, she'll be talking about destiny and soulmates. Thursday morning, I served Ella with divorce papers at her office, professional process server, completely by the book. The papers included selected text message excerpts and financial records showing the affair. Her call came within an hour. What the hell is this? Divorce papers with evidence of adultery? This was supposed to be a temporary break. We were going to work things out. You worked it out with Scott instead. Hope that night at the Omni was worth $280. The silence was deafening. I could practically hear her brain trying to figure out how I'd found out about the hotel. How did you? Your iPad syncs to iCloud. Every text message, every photo, every plan you made with him. I have 3 weeks of evidence. You went through my private messages? She tried a few more angles. The break gave her permission. She was confused. She never meant for it to go this far. None of it mattered. This is insane. It was just texting. The hotel receipt says otherwise. So do the restaurant charges. Another long silence. You can't just end our marriage over this. I'm not ending our marriage. You did that when you started hooking up with Scott while asking me to wait for you like some kind of backup plan. But her next response really showed her true colors. Instead of apologizing or showing any remorse, she went full nuclear. You know what? I'm glad I did it. Scott actually cares about me. He doesn't just grunt at me when he gets home from work. He takes me places and buys me things and makes me feel special. With our joint credit card. Whatever. At least he has a real job, not just some grunt work that gets you all dirty and gross. There it was, 3 years of marriage, and she drops the mask completely. Suddenly, my welding career that paid for everything was just grunt work. The same job that bought her car, paid for her vacations, and kept her student loans current. A grunt who makes twice what you make answering phones for now. Scott's already talking about getting me a better position at his company in Austin, where people actually have ambition. Good luck with that. Hope Scott knows what he's signing up for. He appreciates me. Unlike you, he appreciates having his hotel bills paid by someone else's husband. Real romantic. She hung up on me. Stefan was dying when I told him about the conversation. She actually called welding grunt work? The same welding that's been paying her bills for 3 years? And now she's planning to move to Austin with this guy? That woman has completely lost her mind. The divorce process took 4 months. Ella tried every angle, the break gave her permission. The emotional affair wasn't physical until the hotel receipts proved otherwise, and her mouth slipped. She was confused and manipulated. None of it stuck. Her lawyer was some woman who specialized in women's rights and divorce proceedings. Didn't matter. Evidence is evidence, and Texas law is clear about adultery. But Ella's true nature came out during the proceedings. Instead of showing any remorse or trying to negotiate fairly, she demanded half of everything, including the house. When her lawyer explained that adultery affected property division, she threw a tantrum in the law office that got her temporarily banned from the building. During this time, Ashley kept up her supportive friend act with military precision. Regular texts checking on me, suggestions to meet for coffee, hints about taking our relationship to the next level once the divorce was final. The woman had turned emotional manipulation into performance art. Every text was carefully crafted to seem caring and supportive while positioning herself as the obvious upgrade. She probably spent more time crafting her messages than most people spend on their resumes. She's like a vulture circling a dead marriage, Stefan observed. Probably has a countdown calendar until you're officially single. I played along just enough to keep her engaged, met her for coffee twice more, let her comfort me about the divorce proceedings, listened to her talk about what a terrible person Ella had been to both of us. The meetings followed the same pattern every time. She'd show up dressed like she was auditioning for a music video, spend an hour talking about how supportive she was being, then make increasingly obvious hints about our future together. I feel so guilty, she said during one meeting. If I hadn't told you about Scott, maybe you could have worked things out. Right. If she hadn't told me about the affair she probably encouraged in the first place. You did the right thing, I said. I needed to know the truth. I just hate seeing you go through this. You deserve so much better. She reached across the table and took my hand. And I want you to know that when you're ready, when all this is behind you, I'll be here in whatever way you need. The message couldn't have been clearer if she'd handed me a business card that said Rebound Relationship Services, available 24/7. Stefan nearly fell off his chair when I told him. She actually said, in whatever way you need. What is she, a full-service consolation prize? Does she come with a warranty? The final settlement came through in May. I kept the house, my retirement accounts, and 65% of our joint assets. Ella got her car, her personal belongings, and her student loan debt. No spousal support since she was the cheating party. The house alone was worth $280,000, minus the $180,000 mortgage balance. With the improvements I'd made, I had about $100,000 in equity that stayed mine, plus another $32,000 from our joint savings and investments. She walked away with maybe $18,000 and a Honda Civic with 90,000 miles on it. But even then, she couldn't accept responsibility. During the final settlement meeting, she actually had the nerve to complain that the division was unfair and that I was punishing her for following her heart. Following your heart? I said. You used our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms with another guy. Scott and I have a real connection, something you'd never understand. I understand it cost us $280, plus dinner at 3 different restaurants. Her lawyer actually had to physically restrain her from lunging across the conference table. The woman had completely lost it. That's what happens when you try to have your cake and eat it too, Stefan said. The day the divorce was finalized, Ashley invited me to celebrate at an upscale restaurant downtown. She'd picked the place. Meridian, one of those spots where the appetizers cost $30 and the waiters treat you like you're interrupting their real career in theater. She hesitated when I suggested the place, probably wondering why I suddenly wanted to wine and dine. But her ambition overrode her instincts. She showed up in a dress that probably cost more than my car payment, clearly expecting this to be the night she finally cashed in on her investment in destroying my marriage. I'm so proud of how you handled everything, she said over appetizers that looked like modern art and tasted like disappointment. You were so strong through the whole process. I had good support. I was happy to help. You deserve to know the truth. She reached across the table for my hand. And now we can finally be honest about what's been building between us. I looked at her across the table, perfectly made up, designer dress, predatory smile that she probably practiced in the mirror, and felt nothing but disgust. Ashley, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? You destroyed my marriage. What? No, I helped you see what Ella really was. You were trying to break us up so you could move in on me. You encouraged her to cheat, then came running to me with the information like some loyal friend. Ashley's face went pale under her foundation. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely surprised. That's not, I would never. You absolutely would. And you did. You manipulated a woman into destroying her marriage because you wanted her husband. I cared about both of you. I was trying to protect you from getting hurt worse. You were protecting your own interests. You saw an opportunity, and you took it. I stood up and dropped 2 $20 bills on the table. The saddest part is that you actually think I'd want to be with someone capable of what you did. Where are you going? We haven't even had dinner. I'm going home, alone, to my house that I kept because I was smart enough not to trust people like you. What about us? I looked down at her, still sitting there in her expensive dress, finally understanding that her elaborate manipulation had gotten her exactly nothing. There is no us. There never was. You're a toxic person who destroys relationships for your own entertainment, but I helped you. I told you the truth about Ella. You told me the truth about an affair you encouraged her to have. You created the problem, then offered yourself as the solution. That's not help. That's sabotage with a marketing campaign. But I wasn't done yet. I had one more card to play. An hour earlier, I had texted Ella. Ashley wants to confess something about Scott. Said it's important, and you need to hear it. She bit instantly. 10 minutes into dinner, she walked through the restaurant door, eyes already scanning for blood. What's she doing here? Ashley's voice went up an octave. Ladies, you two have a lot to discuss. I'll leave you to it. I stood up and walked toward the exit, but not before calling Stefan. Dude, you need to get down to Meridian Restaurant right now. What's happening? The life coach is about to get a performance review from her former client. I could hear Ella's voice rising behind me. You set me up with Scott. It wasn't like that. I was trying to help you. Help me. You destroyed my marriage so you could steal my husband. I made it to the parking lot just as things got really interesting. Through the restaurant windows, I could see both women standing now, gesturing wildly. Other diners were starting to stare, phones coming out to record the show. Stefan pulled up just as the real entertainment began. Holy crap, they're going at it, he said, getting out of his truck. This is better than pay-per-view. Ella's voice carried clearly through the glass. You've been planning this for months. He doesn't even want you. He chose me. He just rejected you, you delusional psycho. That's when Ashley threw something. Looked like her water glass. It shattered against the wall behind Ella, who responded by grabbing Ashley's designer purse and dumping the contents all over the table. Oh, this is getting good, Stefan said, already dialing 911. Hello, police. I'd like to report a disturbance at Meridian Restaurant downtown. Through the window, we watched Ashley lunge across the table at Ella, who grabbed her by the hair. They both went down, taking half the table setting with them. Other patrons were scrambling away from their table as plates crashed to the floor. Should we go help? I asked. Help? Dude, this is the best entertainment I've had all year. They're both getting exactly what they deserve. The restaurant manager appeared, trying to separate them, but Ashley shoved him away and went after Ella again. Ella responded by throwing what looked like a bread basket that caught Ashley square in the face. By the time the police arrived 5 minutes later, both women were on the floor, hair disheveled, makeup smeared, screaming at each other while the restaurant staff tried to restore order. Several other diners were filming with their phones. Both officers looked at each other with the expression of people who had dealt with this type of situation before. Ladies, you're both under arrest for disturbing the peace and assault. Stefan and I watched from the parking lot as they cuffed both women and loaded them into separate patrol cars, still yelling at each other through the windows. They spent the night in county holding. Apparently, screaming in public and hurling dinnerware isn't covered by girl drama. That, Stefan said, was absolutely beautiful. I got a call the next morning from Ella, calling from the county jail. This is all your fault, she said immediately. How exactly is your bar fight with Ashley my fault? You set us up. You planned this. I told her the truth about what she did to our marriage. What you two did after that was entirely your choice. We both got arrested because of you. You both got arrested because you decided to have a cage match in a public restaurant. That's on you. But she wasn't done being entitled. You need to bail me out. I'm your wife. Ex-wife as of yesterday, and no, I don't need to do anything for you. I don't have anyone else to call. Scott won't answer his phone. Sounds like a personal problem. You can't just leave me here. Watch me. The call lasted maybe 3 minutes before she hung up on me. Stefan was dying when I told him about it later. That woman has balls. I'll give her that. Both women ended up spending the night in jail and had to pay fines for disturbing the peace. Ella also had to pay for the damaged restaurant property, about $800 for broken dishes, glassware, and cleaning fees. The incident made it onto several social media pages as divorce drama turns into restaurant brawl. Someone had filmed the whole thing on their phone and posted it to TikTok. The video got 80,000 views in the first week. Somebody commented, "When keeping it real goes wrong," with 500 likes. Ella moved back in with her parents in suburban Dallas. Last I heard, she's working at a different company, making about the same money, but now she's got a criminal record in a viral video. Scott ended things with her once he realized he'd been used to break up a marriage and then publicly humiliated in a viral restaurant fight. The funniest part was that Scott apparently tried to ghost her after the arrest, but she kept showing up at his office in Austin, trying to work things out. His company had to get building security involved. Guy went from thinking he was some kind of player to needing a restraining order. Ashley tried reaching out for weeks after the arrest incident, alternating between apologies and accusations. Started with, "I'm so sorry, I don't know what came over me," and escalated to, "You manipulated both of us and destroyed 2 friendships." I finally blocked her number when she showed up at my house uninvited one Saturday morning, demanding to know why I was punishing her for being a good friend. The house feels like home again. Got rid of all the decorative pillows that serve no purpose, the scented candles that were never allowed to be lit. Bought a proper sectional couch, a 65-inch TV for the living room, and turned the spare bedroom into a home office. Trash really does take itself out sometimes.